Level 1. The conscript. You're 17, and you believe. That matters more than anything else they will ever measure in you. You believe the way only a hungry boy can believe. Completely, because belief is the one thing the state gives away for free. The summons arrives folded inside a copy of the Rod Ong Sinmun, as if the newspaper itself had chosen you. You read your assignment aloud to your mother because you're proud. She doesn't look proud. She looks the way people look at a debt they cannot pay. Your sister, Eun-ju, is 9. She presses a folded paper crane into your palm and tells you to bring it back. You promise. You are a boy who still makes promises. The training base squats in a valley scraped bare of trees, because trees were cut for fuel years ago. A loudspeaker recites the leader's words across the frozen ground from before dawn to after dark. You don't find it oppressive. You find it holy. 40 boys arrive on the same truck. You notice who mouths the slogans and who actually means them. You mean them. You notice who weeps at night, and you decide, quietly, that you will not be one of them. You notice the boy in the next bunk, Tail, who recites a verse one word wrong every single time. You correct him. You think you are helping. The first lesson is hunger. Not training hunger. Real hunger, the kind with a sound. The ration is corn, ground with a cob, and on good days a spoon of soybean paste the color of the walls. You learn that your body will eat its own warmth to keep your heart going. You learn that the cold finds the exact place where your spine meets your skull and lives there. And you learn the first true rule of this place, which no instructor ever says aloud. The boy who reports another boy eats first. Political officer Song runs the indoctrination sessions. He is gentle. That is what makes him terrifying. He never raises his voice. He asks questions, and he writes your answers in a small gray notebook, and the notebook is the most powerful weapon on the base. Who among you has heard a forbidden broadcast? He asks one night. Silence. Loyalty, he says, smiling, is not silence. Loyalty is speaking. You think about Tail and the verse he always gets wrong. You think about the family in your village who once played music you didn't recognize. You say nothing that night. You are still, at this point, a boy who says nothing. That will not last. 3 weeks in, the test comes. A boy named Hyun is caught with half a page of a South Korean drama script, traded for 2 days of rice. Officer Song gathers the company. Someone here knew, he says. Loyalty is speaking. And you understand, with a clarity that frightens you, that the boy who speaks will eat, and the boy who stays silent will starve, and that this is not cruelty. This is the whole machine, working exactly as designed. You don't speak this time. Hyun is taken away barefoot across the snow. You watch his footprints fill in. You tell yourself you will speak next time. The most dangerous promise you will ever make. By the oath ceremony, 31 of you remain. You hold a rifle older than your father. You swear with your whole chest, because you still believe the swearing means something. The portrait of the leader watches. You meet its eyes. You do not yet know that meeting those eyes is a kind of surrender. Level 2. The private. You're 18, and you keep the paper crane in your breast pocket. Eun-ju's letters reach you once a month, sometimes less, each one shorter, each one with more sentences blacked out by a censor's brush. You learn to read the black bars instead of the words. A long bar means the harvest was bad. A short bar means someone in the village said something they shouldn't have. You're posted to a collective work and guard unit in the north. Half soldier, half farmhand, all property of the state. By day you patrol a frozen perimeter. By season you are sent into the fields, because a soldier who cannot feed himself is a luxury the country cannot afford. The grain you grow is not yours. It is weighed, recorded, and trucked to the capital, and what returns to feed you is a number decided by a man you will never meet. The number is always smaller than the harvest. Every year. Without exception. This is the first crack in your belief, and you paper over it immediately, the way you were trained to. Sergeant Mun has served 20 years and has the face of a man who stopped expecting anything. He doesn't lecture you. He teaches you to steal correctly. Take from the state and you die, he says, threshing rice. Take from the count, before it becomes the state, and you live. Learn the difference. You're horrified. You report it to no one. That silence is the second crack. Winter comes early and hard. A family in the nearest village, a mother and 3 children, is caught gleaning the frozen field after the count. Stealing from the state. You are on the patrol that finds them. The mother does not run. She has nothing left to run with. She looks at you the way your own mother looked at the summons. Regulation is clear. You report. They are taken. You think of Unju. You think of the black bars in her letters. You write the report. But you write that the field was empty. You lie to the state for the first time in your life, and the lie tastes like the only honest thing you have ever done. Sergeant Munn reads it over your shoulder. He says nothing. He just nods, once, the way a man nods at another man who has finally understood the difference he was trying to teach.
If you respect that silent defiance, if you understand what it costs to choose mercy in a place that punishes it, subscribe to Through the Ranks.
That night you cannot sleep. Because you've learned that your belief and your conscience now point in opposite directions. And you don't yet know which one will win. You're afraid you already do. Level 3. The Selected. You're 19, and your file is clean. Too clean. A soldier with no marks against him is either perfect or hiding something, and the state trusts neither. So they select you for the Reconnaissance General Bureau screening, not as a reward, but as a test of what you do with proximity to secrets. Selection lasts 7 days in a sealed compound, and the walls have ears that take notes. Day 1 is physical, and it is meant to be survived, not passed. A forced march carrying another man's weight, because in the field you will carry the wounded or you will carry the dead, and they want to see which you choose. You choose to carry. They write that down too. Day 3 is when the real screening begins. They put a radio in your barracks. A real one, tuned to a foreign signal, left on a shelf as if forgotten. A test. Some men turn it off and report it. Some men listen and say nothing. Some men listen and then report that they listened, to prove their loyalty by confessing their weakness. You turn it off. You report it. You tell yourself it's loyalty. You know, in a place you don't look at directly, that it's fear. That night a candidate named Jiangsu is removed. He's the one who listened and said nothing. You realize the radio was never the test. The test was you, watching him, deciding. And you chose the bureau over the man. Day 5 they interrogate you about your own family. Your sister writes you letters. It isn't a question. Your blood goes to ice. What does she write? You say she writes about the harvest. About loyalty. About the leader's grace. You do not say that her last letter was almost entirely black bars. You do not say that you read the bars. For the first time, you lie to protect someone instead of yourself. The interrogator writes something down. No reaction. That's worse. Day 7, your number is called. Selected. 9 of 60. You don't celebrate. Because you've understood the price of the thing you just won. They didn't choose you for your loyalty. They chose you because you're useful, and a useful man who loves his sister is a man they can always control. They've found the lever. And they will pull it. Level 4. Reconnaissance. Probationary. You're 20, and they teach you the South. Not to hate it. You already hate it. Hatred was issued at birth. They teach you to become it. You learn the Southern accent until your own mother tongue feels like a costume. You learn to walk like a man who has never been hungry, which is the hardest disguise of all, because hunger has a posture and yours is written into your spine. You learn their slang, their currency, the names of their singers, the price of their rice. And the price of their rice is the thing that breaks something in you. You do the arithmetic in the dark. A worker there buys in an hour what your family cannot grow in a season. You are being trained to infiltrate a world that has what your sister is starving without. You file this away with the other cracks. The wall behind your belief is mostly cracks now, held up by habit. Senior Lieutenant Ryu runs the probationary cohort. He defected to nowhere, meaning he thought about it, was caught at the thought, and was broken and rebuilt into the most loyal man on the base, which is the state's favorite kind of loyalty, the kind made from a survived betrayal. He knows what you're all thinking before you think it. You will see their world, he tells you. You will see it has everything. And you will come home and report that it is rotting. Do you understand? Yes, the cohort answers. No, he says. But you will. Your first operation is not in the south. It's a tunnel. You spend 14 days underground, mapping a passage that may or may not still be used, in air so dead your lamp dims for lack of it. You learn that the dark underground is different from the dark above. It has weight. It presses on the back of your eyes. On the 9th day, your partner, a quiet man named Beck, stops moving. Not wounded. Just stopped. He sits in the tunnel and says he isn't going forward, and he isn't going back, and he isn't going to report anyone, and there's nothing left in him to make him do any of it. This is the moment the training was for. You are required to report a man who refuses an order. You think about Hyun's footprints filling with snow. You think about Tail, whose verse you corrected, who you never saw again after the first base. You sit down next to Beck in the dark. You don't report him. You wait. After an hour, he gets up, and you both finish the map, and neither of you ever speaks of it. 2 more cracks in the wall. You're starting to suspect the wall was never holding up the ceiling. You were. Level 5. The operative. You're 23, and you cross over. Not into the south. Into the part of the war the state will never admit exists. You move men and goods through the border with the country to the north, the one that pretends not to see you, carrying things in sealed crates you are forbidden to open. You open one. Once. It's medicine. South Korean medicine, foreign aid medicine, the kind that could keep a child alive through a winter, and it isn't going to children. It's going to a market, to be sold by the men above you, to be turned into the foreign currency the state needs and the leadership keeps. You reseal the crate with hands that won't stay steady. You understand now, fully what you are. You are not defending your country. You are a vein in the body of a thing that eats its own children and sells the medicine that could have saved them. Your handler is a woman called Only Teacher. She has done this for 11 years and she has a stillness that isn't peace. It's the stillness of someone who decided long ago to feel nothing, because feeling is a liability that gets people killed. You opened a crate, she says. Not a question. You don't answer. Everyone opens one crate, she says. The ones who open 2 don't come back. Open none from now on. That's the whole conversation. It's the kindest thing anyone has said to you in years. Then comes the night that ends the boy in you completely. A defector family is moving through your sector. You are not told this. You piece it together. A mother, a father, 2 children, paying everything they have to cross the river into China. And the order comes down to your unit. Stop them. Make an example. The example is the point. You are the example maker now. You do not fire. But you do not have to. The river does what you were sent to do, and you stand on the bank and you let it, and the not firing does not save you because watching is its own kind of pulling the trigger. In the morning, a single child's shoe is caught in the reeds. You don't take it out. You can't. Good work, the report says. You think of Unju and the paper crane in your breast pocket, soft now from years of sweat, and you understand that the state would do this to her too, that it would do this to anyone, that there is no level of loyalty that buys a person out of being expendable.
If you understand that some orders cost more than the body, that they take the soul and leave the man standing, subscribe.
Level 6. The Infiltrator. You're 26, and they finally send you south. This is the mission your whole life was a rehearsal for, and you discover within a week that the lie has a crack the size of a country. The South is not rotting. The South is loud and bright and wasteful and free, and the people complain about small things because they have the luxury of small things, and you walk among them in borrowed clothes, hating them and envying them and grieving in a way you can't name. You eat a bowl of rice in a station, white rice, all of it rice, nothing stretched into it, and you have to leave because you're afraid you'll weep at a table and blow 6 years of training over a bowl of food. Your contact is a sleeper named Hannah, born here, turned long ago, living a whole false life so completely that you can't tell anymore where the cover ends and the person begins. You ask her, once, late, whether she's still loyal. She looks at you for a long time. Loyal to what? She says. There's nothing up there to be loyal to. There's only the people we left behind, and the price they pay if we stop. That sentence rearranges everything you are. You're not loyal to the state. You never were. Not really. You're a hostage, and your sister is the ransom, and every mission is just another payment on a debt that the state designed to never end. Your task is to identify a defector, a former officer who got out and now speaks publicly about what the regime does. You find him. It takes 3 weeks. He gives talks in a small church basement, to 20 people, about exactly the things you've buried. You sit in the back row, in your southern clothes, and you listen to him say out loud the sentence you have never let yourself think. That obeying was the crime. That, I had no choice, is the lie every one of them tells, and that there is always, somewhere, a choice, even if the choice is only what you let it cost you. You're supposed to report his location. You have his location. You hold it for 9 days. On the 10th, your handler sends a single line, a photograph of a village. Your village. The lever. They've found your sister. You report his location. You hate yourself in a way that has no bottom. And you learn the last thing the state ever needed you to learn, that a man who loves someone can be made to do anything, and that they have known this about you since the day they read that your sister writes you letters. Level 7. The Commander. You're 31, and they reward your loyalty with command. A reconnaissance unit. 40 operatives. Every order yours. It does not feel like a reward. It feels like being handed the same lever they've been pulling on you, and being told to pull it on others. And you do. This is the part no one warns you about. You become Officer Song with the gray notebook. You become the man who says loyalty is speaking. You find the family levers in your operatives' files, because the files are the first thing you're given, and you understand now why the files exist. You tell yourself you're protecting them. That a controlled man is a living man. That you're kinder than the ones above you. You almost believe it. A young operative named Cho reminds you of yourself at 19. Clean file, too clean, believes too hard. He comes to you after a mission gone wrong, where civilians died who didn't have to, and he asks you the question you asked the defector through a church basement wall. Was there another way? You have a choice. You can tell him the truth, that there's always another way, and it always costs you everything, and that's the point. Or you can tell him what was told to you. You tell him it was necessary. You tell him it was clean. You watch the boy in him die a little, the way it died in you, and you realize you have just done to him exactly what was done to you, and that this is how the system survives. Not through belief, but through each broken man breaking the next. That night you take out the paper crane. It's falling apart. You can't remember the last time Unju's letters came. You're afraid to find out why. Level 8. The Political Officer. You're 35, and they make you the gray notebook itself. You are reassigned from operations to ideological supervision. Your job is no longer to fight. Your job is to watch the men who fight, and to write down what they say, and to decide who eats first and who disappears barefoot across the snow. You are the thing you have feared your entire life. And you are good at it, because you have spent that entire life learning exactly where a man hides the truth. A soldier is brought before you, caught with a foreign radio. He's 19. Clean file. Believes too hard. Of course he does. He tells you he found the radio. That he never listened. That he reported it himself. You know the script. You wrote it once, kneeling in the snow. You have a choice. You can write it down as he says it, and let him live. Or you can write what you know to be true, and end him, and prove your own loyalty with his body the way the system always demands a fresh body to prove a thing that can never be proven enough. You ask the question Officer Song asked you, 20 years and a lifetime ago. Who else knew? The boy looks at you, and he says nothing. He chooses silence, the way you once couldn't. You sit with that silence for a long time. And then, for the first time since you were 18, you make the choice the defector said was always there. You write that the radio was broken, that it received nothing, that there is no case. You let him live. It changes nothing about the system. It is the only thing you have left that the system cannot take, which is the choice of what you let yourself become. You walk back to your quarters and you do not report yourself. That silence, finally, is yours. Level 9. The Purged. You're 41, and the lever finally finds you. A man you trusted, a man whose file you held, writes your name in his own gray notebook to save himself, because that is what you taught a generation of men to do. The charge is ideological contamination. They have it all: the empty field you reported years ago, the crate you opened, the 9 days you held a defector's location, the radio you wrote off as broken. They were watching the whole time. They are always watching the whole time. That was the first lesson, and you mistook it for a slogan. They do not execute you. They do something the state considers more efficient. They send you, and your record, and your name, down into the system you fed. A labor camp in the mountains, the kind that does not appear on any map, the kind your own units once guarded. And there, on the second day, behind the wire, you see her. Unju. She is thin in a way that has a sound. She has been here for 3 years. 3 generations answer for one man's disloyalty. That is the doctrine, and you are the one man, and she is the generation paying. Every mission you ran to protect her bought her exactly this. The loyalty was the trap. The love was the lever. And the state knew, from the very first letter, that the surest way to own a man completely is to give him someone to lose. She doesn't blame you. That's the part you cannot survive. She takes your hand through the wire and she says she kept hoping you'd defect every single year, that she prayed you'd run and not look back and let her go. You never ran. Because you were loyal. You learned the last lesson on the wrong side of the fence. The most dangerous thing they ever gave you was something to believe in. Level 10. The end. You're 46, and you look 60, and the mountain has taken most of what the state left. There is no ceremony for a man like you. There is only the cold, and the count, and the work, and the wire. Unju died in the second winter. You were on the other side of the camp, and they did not let you go to her. You buried the paper crane with the small stone that marks where they put her, because there was nothing else of either of you left to bury. At night the loudspeaker still recites the leader's words across the frozen ground, even here, even to the ones the state has already thrown away. You used to find it holy. Now you understand it for what it always was. Not a faith. A leash. A young prisoner arrives, 17, terrified, and he asks you how to survive this place. You have a choice. You can tell him to keep his head down, to believe, to be loyal, to inform, to do all the things that kept you alive and cost you your soul and your sister and your name. Or you can tell him the truth. You lean close, so the loudspeaker can't reach the words, and you tell him the only thing worth knowing. Don't give them anyone to take from you. Love no one out loud. And if you ever get the chance to run, run, and don't look back, and don't carry a single one of us with you. He doesn't understand yet. He will. That night you lie in the cold and you do not recite the words, for the first time in your entire life. You think about the boy who pressed a paper crane into your hand and made you promise to bring it back. You kept every promise the state ever forced on you. You broke the only one that was ever truly yours. 30 years of learning. When to speak. When to inform. When to obey. And the one thing no one taught you until it was too late, when to run. No one told you it would end this quietly. But now you understand. Silence was never your shield. It was theirs. You served a system that asked for your faith, your family, and your soul, and gave you a frozen grave and a leash that recites in the dark. And the cruelest part is that you'd have given it all again, if they'd only let you keep her. That is what loyalty is, in a place like this. It is the rope they hand you, smiling, and call a lifeline.
If you respect the men who are ground to nothing by a system they were raised to love, who suffer in a silence the world never hears, for a country that was never theirs, subscribe to Through the Ranks.